Hello, everyone. I have noon on my clock, Central Standard Time. And so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Tableau Business and Data Analytics Certificate webinar. This is offered to you, the webinar is offered to you by LSU Continuing Education in partnership with Pastoring. The agenda for this webinar for this afternoon is we'll have introductions. We'll talk a little bit about what Tableau Business and Data Analytics Certificate is. Then we'll go into what type of careers the program prepares you for, how the program is structured, and what the students will, what you will learn. We'll give you a demo, and then we'll have Q&A at the end. I am monitoring the Q&A in the webinar, so if there's a quick answer, I'll go ahead and answer it by typing it in. If it's a question for one of our panelists, then or myself, we'll save that to the end, and we'll go over and review all of the questions. We'll go ahead and start with introductions. My name is Lisa Verma. I am a senior director here at LSU Online and Continuing Education. I have worked specifically in our professional development and community programs area of our division. I've been with LSU for almost 27 years. I'm originally from Michigan, and I have served on the board of directors for a University Professional Continuing Education Association and have been part of the South region. So I've really met a lot of folks in our same industry from around the country. So I'm very happy to have you join us. Pleased that you're here with us and spending your hour with us, whatever time it is in your time zone. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panelists, and I will turn it over to Lauren. Lauren is the VP for Experience with Pastoring. Lauren, if you could introduce yourself and then tag Angelica or Angie afterwards.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Excited to be here. My name is Lauren Pizer. I lead the learning experience team at Pastoring, which means that I'm responsible for working on the development of all of our courses, including the certificate that we're going to be speaking about today. But my experience is in learning design, online learning, and student experience. And I've worked at Stanford University as well as several startups in the Bay Area, all focused on curriculum design and helping students to make the connection between education and their larger goals. So Angie, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Lauren. So I'm Angie, and I also work at Pastoring as a technical learning design manager, more specifically for the data certificate. I have a background in educational technology, more specifically around the development and instruction of various data-centric programs across the Bay Area. So anywhere from like continuing education programs to adult schools to four-year institutions. I've been involved in those. And I'm really your point person for all the questions around the development and instructional design of the business and analytics certificate that we're talking about today, which I think leads us to the next slide. Which is, what is this Tableau Business and Data Analytics Certificate? So the certificate was built in collaboration with Tableau. Tableau is an interactive data viz visualization software company, and Tableau is currently one of the most powerful data viz software tools in the analytics industry, which makes this certificate's alignment with preparing learners for the real analytics roles in industry extra exciting and more hands-on. The content itself is hosted online using Pastoring's custom online learning platform, where you will be using real industry tools such as Tableau, SQL, Python, and spreadsheet software. Everything from the examples in the lessons to the projects in the courses are based on real, on-the-job scenarios. We're always trying to stimulate the real analyst experience, almost like a two-in-one. After you've completed a course, your projects can be used to build a portfolio to showcase those skills to future employers. So, thank you. After taking these 9 micro courses, you will also become job ready. In addition to earning all those technical skills, preparation for careers in these growing fields of data analytics is also incorporated into this certificate. So can we go back? Yeah, so after completing the courses, you will have earned the co-branded badge, which you will visit in more detail later on in this deck. And then you'll also have access to 10 hours of career navigation content. Cool. And then as mentioned earlier, these courses are hosted using Pathstream's custom online learning platform. The learning is tool-based focused on Tableau, SQL, more specifically MySQL Workbench, Python, and spreadsheet software. You'll not need to worry about like downloading anything to your local computer. It is all hosted on Pathstream. The goal is to have you practicing in the hands-on environment as soon as possible. And then another perk of the courses is that the projects offer personalized feedback from the instructors.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the careers that this program is going to prepare you for. So, you know, if you're thinking about what am I going to be able to do after this certificate, you're going to really want to be looking for job titles such as data analyst or business analyst. And there's a couple of different career outcomes that you might be seeking after the certificate. One is that you might be pursuing an entry-level job for the first time in an analytics position. You might, be coming into this certificate without any prior learning or knowledge in the field, and this is exactly the right certificate for you if you fall into that category. After this certificate, you will be able to pursue an entry-level job or an internship in the field of analytics. Another category in which you might fit in is that you might be thinking, how can I apply the analytics skill set to my current job? Maybe your current job doesn't necessarily use a lot of analytics, but you're seeing that increasing. You're seeing the amount of data coming into your workplace increasing, and know that tools like SQL and spreadsheets and Tableau are becoming table stakes in your position. And so this is a great certificate to be able to come in, get those skills, and then apply them immediately to your workplace. The third option, maybe you already have a job, but you want to pursue a promotion in that job, maybe into another department or in your current department that uses the data analysis toolkit. And so this is a really great certificate to be able to do that, to pursue that promotion within your current field or your current job.
Hey, Lauren, we have a comment that mentioned that your screen is black. I just wanted to double check to make sure. On my end, I'm seeing it okay, but I want to double check. Gail, are you able to see the screen? I think we're good.
Okay, great. Let me know if there's any issues though, because there's a lot going on Zoom. Okay, so if we think about, there's actually a lot of data about data analysis, which is kind of funny, but there's a ton of data that says that, in the last 12 months, 1 million jobs have been posted for analyst roles. And job growth is expected to increase by 30% for Tableau skills just in the next 10 years. So there's certainly an increase in demand for people with a data analysis toolkit and skill set. What's also interesting to note is that more and more data is being collected and utilized by companies. They're getting data from their customers about their product, and all of that data needs to be organized and sorted. And the amount of data that organizations are getting is only increasing. So there's really, clear indication that the data analysis field is growing and will continue to grow. Another thing to note is that there's a series of non-analyst roles, right? Like customer success managers or project managers that might not seem like they're analyst positions, but they're actually increasingly using tools like spreadsheets or Tableau to do their job. And so even if you're not in a data analytics position right now, this toolkit is becoming increasingly important no matter what your position is, because of that increase in data that we were talking about. Another really important thing to note about data analytics is that there's not one profession that you go into if you have that data and analytics skill set. You can use your toolkit in healthcare, in retail, in education, in finance. And so these skills are applicable across pretty much any industry. And that's pretty important to think about if you're thinking about, your passions. Maybe you want to work in the education space, but this skill set is applicable in all of those different contexts. So we've mentioned this a little bit, Angie mentioned this, but career services are a big part of the PassStream experience because of how important it is to really connect your experience with a job after this program. And so throughout the course, there is curriculum built in. We were estimating about 10 hours of content on LinkedIn, resume, cover letter is built right into the experience. But as you're nearing the end of the certificate program, there's a whole nother set of career supports and services that are going to be available to you as you complete the entire certificate. And those are things like personalized coaching calls, referrals to employers when possible, interview prep, really more one-on-one supportive and individualized resources around actually getting that job. And so that's really baked into the PassStream and LSU experience, which is not necessarily the case with other online programs. So I want to pass it to Lisa to talk a little bit about how the program is structured and how it breaks down.
Yes, thank you. So you have several options when looking at this program and deciding how you want to register for the program. So it's broken up into 3 components, I guess you could say. So there is the co-branded, the one co-brand certificate. The certificate encompasses all of the courses and all of the micro-credentials, or as we call them, microcreds. But it is a self-paced, about 38-week program. And the other option is that we have the 4 specialized microcreds, as LSU calls them, micro-credentials. So we break down the courses into smaller bundles that you can complete at one time. So let's say you wanted to do the foundations microcredit, you're gonna start with foundations. It'll take you about 10 weeks, but when you complete that, you do receive, and I'll show later in the slides, you'll receive a badge that you've completed that. So you have some, I guess you have some completion or success points along the way as you're building up to the full certificate. And then as you see, we have the 4 microcreds that, and those, and the corresponding courses that they break down into. So the whole certificate is 9 courses. Those 9 courses are bundled into 4 microcreds that lead up to the certificate. So again, you're able to sign up for the full certificate, the individual microcreds, or the individual courses. And we do like that you take them in these orders. Obviously, if you're going to start with SQL 1 and then 2 and then 3, you might start with intro and then statistics 1, and then eventually you'll get down to the statistics. But you can take them individually if that's your choice. And if you take them individually, we'll still work with you that once you complete the courses, you'll receive the badge. And we'll talk about that again in a little bit. So to recap, though, there's the 3 options in this program. Is the one full branded certificate, and you can get the whole, that's what we hope the goal is. The end goal is to get to that certificate. In the meantime, you can, kind of bite that off in smaller chunks in the more specialized microcreds. And as you earn those microcreds, you're automatically going to be able to use those on your resume and your credentials. And then, of course, those make up the 9 individual courses that encompass the whole certificate. So we talked about badges, and Angie talked about a little bit in hers that we'd mentioned it. And so what you have are, these are digital badges. And if you're unfamiliar with the digital badges, they are like an online, they're good for your online resume, and they're good for a digital credential, I guess, in your resume. So think of it as like on LinkedIn. So you can have these badges in your resume. You can also put them on LinkedIn. You can share them on LinkedIn. The microcred badges have individual badges for themselves, and then the full certificate, as you see to the right, has a badge. So you'll have 5 badges in all when you complete this. So you can show the smaller badges. What's nice about the badge is anytime it's in a digital format, the viewer, potential employer or your current employer for an upgraded job, is that they can click on the badge. What'll happen is the badge will show the name that's attached to it, so your name. It'll show when you completed that badge, and it'll show the skills you acquired. So that automatically breaks it down, and down to those skills is what's important. So it helps employers see what specific skills or competencies you have. It's unique to have the badge. And then sometimes I would think when you're showing these things, that if they're looking over several resumes for a job, they might pull yours kind of rise to the top a little bit because they can see more specifically what skills or competencies that you've earned through this program. So I hope, and again, we hope that you share that electronically on your resume as you build up towards the certificate.
So Angie, do you want to speak a little bit about the learning outcomes for each of these microcreds?
Yeah. So after each course, you will have performed projects that will demonstrate your ability to complete the following outcomes bulleted here on this page. And I won't read each one to you, but I will summarize like each main micro or each main course topic to you. So in the foundations course, the idea really is to have you explore the foundations of business and data analytics and all its frameworks. And by the end of the course, you will perform an exploratory data analytics or an EDA and from some sort of business case and perform this via spreadsheet software. In the SQL course or courses, you will explore the role and applications of SQL in analytics and develop DDL and DML, which are types of almost like sublanguages in SQL, queries in MySQL Workbench to again define, manipulate, and normalize data within databases. In the Tableau course, you will explore again the role and application of data visualization within data analytics, and then create and design data visualizations, tables, and dashboards and stories using Tableau desktop, and with the idea to communicate this to your stakeholders. And then finally within statistics, again, explore the application and interpretation of statistical analysis to perform appropriate statistical measures to support your analysis to solve problems or challenges using spreadsheet software and Python.
So there are students that have come before you in this journey, and there's a couple of testimonials that we wanted to share with you, and I can let you guys read these slides, but some of the things that stand out are that, you know, students really enjoy the fact that this is a very hands-on experience. This is not a passive experience where you're watching videos. In this experience, you're learning something and then you're immediately testing your knowledge of it. That is either through some of our integrated features within the experience, but also through our labs environment, which I'm going to show you today, which is sort of the hallmark of the experience, because in the labs environment, you're actually able to use the tool that we're talking about using on the job, like Tableau or SQL, but you're using it inside of the classroom in a really seamless, unique way. There's also just a lot of examples and hands-on content and opportunities, you know, to experience how these tools are used in the real world, and it's constantly bringing you back to what this is going to look like on the job. And so this is a very practical experience where you're also learning a lot of the conceptual frameworks that surround these topics. So what I want to do, I'm actually going to stop sharing this one for just a minute. So bear with me. I believe you can still see my screen. And I hope that what you're able to see now is the PassStream platform. Is that looking right on your end? Okay, perfect. So what I want to show you today is just a couple of features of the platform experience. And then we're going to go into some questions. So when you're logging in to one of the courses, this is SQL, one of the SQL courses. So when you're logging into this experience, this is the PassStream interface. And so what you're seeing here are sections of the course, and your instructor will say, you know, this week we're gonna, you know, we're suggesting you do these sections, or they might provide some parameters for you. But each of these sections is broken down into modules and lessons. So when you open up PassStream, you're gonna see exactly where you left off. And there's also time estimates for different components of these lessons. And when you click into that, what you're gonna see is a lesson page that's broken down into parts. And so we know that there are busy lives, there are other jobs that you're doing. And so maybe you can only bite off a couple of parts in an evening, but then, you know, PassStream's right there to pick back up when you're ready. And so the lesson pages generally look similar. There's reading, there's images, there are opportunities for you to assess your learning, which I'll show you in just a minute. There's some short videos, though, as I mentioned, we don't, you know, the program is not predominantly videos, but there are several videos that we've made that are short and really show you exactly what we're talking about. You can download them and keep them with you. We also have opportunities for you to really get used to the interface. This is MySQL Workbench before you enter that place. So there's interactive graphics where you're sort of exploring the space before entering it. And then, right after you're sort of introduced to a new topic, there's knowledge checks, quiz questions, where you can self-assess yourself on how well you understand what you just learned. And so these are opportunities for you to get a sense of, am I on track? Am I off track? There are model answers. And so just an opportunity to really be active in the learning experience. One of the main ways that makes this learning experience active are what's called the labs. And so what's happening here in real time is a lab is loading. And so in general, there are many labs in this certificate program because of the hands-on nature, but this is a SQL lab. And what's happening is my SQL Workbench is spinning up here on the right-hand side of the screen. And this is your own unique instance of MySQL Workbench. And so you don't have to download MySQL Workbench. You don't need to have it on your local computer. There are no licenses required. By the click of a button, you're opening this up. And if I wasn't sharing Zoom, this would load even faster. But what's happening here is you've got your own instance of MySQL Workbench that you can manipulate. You can add in queries here. You can reset this. You can actually leave it and return to it, and your work will be saved in here. And you can run these queries just like you'd run anything in MySQL Workbench, and it's all sort of operating on the right-hand side of the screen here. On the left-hand side of the screen here are a step-by-step set of instructions with GIFs, quizzes, videos, images that are helping you to do the challenges that are on the right-hand side of the screen. And so this is kind of a very interactive opportunity, and Tableau is presented this way, Spreadsheets is presented this way, Python is presented this way. All of our tools are presented in this format in a way to give you that hands-on learning that mirrors the real-world experience. This is also the way that you would submit projects. And so instead of downloading something and then uploading something else, if this was a project, this would just say submit. And by the click of a button, you would submit your projects to your instructors for grading. And so this really seamless opportunity to move between the tool and the learning platform is something that I think really differentiates PathStream. So I want to pause there for a minute, and we can go back to the other presentation just to see kind of what questions are coming up from people and what we can discuss that might be unclear.
Sure, I do have a couple questions, Lauren. One was someone asked if the slides would be provided with the record, or the slides would be provided, and they will be with the record. Like, you're going to get a recording. We'll send everybody the recording of the webinars, and the slides are in the recording. The other one is they asked, are the 10 hours of career navigation content included in the career services?
No, those are actually separate. So in every single microcred, there are 10 hours of content that is around updating your resume and your LinkedIn and other tips and best practices. But at the very last microcred, when you're finishing up your entire certificate, there is an extra layer of career support that's provided there that's much more individualized.
So not just 10 hours once, but
yeah,
you have 10 hours in each of the 4 microcreds plus added information.
That's right. There is a lot of similarities between some of the career content, say in the Tableau microcred and the SQL microcred. There's a lot of overlap in there, but really when you get to the last one is when, I've done all of this work and it's time to really showcase the entire certificate experience to employers. And that's when that additional content really comes in key.
Here's another question I have for you guys. If you were to take the slow approach and do the whole program over the 38 weeks, how many hours per week would they expect to spend if they were to sign up the whole program and they had about 38 weeks?
Yeah, so 38 weeks is a very long time, which really works for some people depending on what other responsibilities and things they've got going on. And it also just slows down the pace, which for some people is really what they need and want. I would say that at that point, you're probably spending, I would say 5 to 6 hours a week at that point, navigating the content because it's at a much slower pace. However, there's always the opportunity to continue to practice beyond what is required in the course. And so there's always the opportunity to flex up. And there's a lot of articles and readings always included in these courses, which are helping you to amplify your learning if you want. But at a minimum, that's only a handful of hours a week if you're going to take the most extended approach.
Okay. We do have a few other questions, so I'll go in order. What is the difference between MySQL Workbench and Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio?
Angie, do you happen to know the answer to that?
Good question. I think to best understand that question, we would probably have to visit like what's the difference between MySQL and then something like Microsoft SQL Server. So MySQL Workbench and MySQL Server Management Studio essentially are just different types of tools, right? But MySQL and then Microsoft SQL pretty much are, you can almost think of them as two different type of sub languages or like dialects. So MySQL is open source and it's a type of relational database management system, and Microsoft is Microsoft SQL Server is a Microsoft product. So it essentially comes down to the preference of like that programmer and that company and what they use. But the core of SQL ends up being very, very similar, and it's like very small differences. But you're essentially asking like, what are the differences between the two tools? So as of what I see right now, it's like essentially, oh, they're using two different server or two different like what I call like mini languages, and then like one being open source and one not. But in this course, we use MySQL and MySQL Workbench.
Okay. I do have another question, is what percentage of the students are completing the entire course? I'm wondering, Brian, if you meant the entire certificate program potentially, and what is the typical time frame to complete? I know we said you can have as much as 38 weeks to complete it, but I guess what would, you know, it might be even helpful to say what is the shortest amount of time if someone is to really just like hunker down and dedicate more time to it. And then maybe what is the typical time frame, maybe an average that folks are completing the program?
Mm-hmm. So I would say that I think everybody is a little bit different in terms of where they're coming into the program at. And so that is, you know, if you're brand new to this, it's going to take a little bit longer than if you already might manipulate data a little bit in your current job. But again, there's no prerequisite to come into this program. I would say that probably the fastest that you could complete this program, it would maybe in about 20 weeks, maybe a little less. I think that would be the most, the fastest if you also have another commitment, like a job. If you are just unemployed or not working right now and you have all day to do this, you can complete it much faster than that. But most of our programs are with students that have other commitments that take up a portion of their day.
You just answered this a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and ask the question again because it's asked is, how much previous knowledge or exposure to SQL, Tableau, et cetera, is necessary to be successful?
Yeah, so this is a good question. We generally say that you need to be comfortable with high school mathematics and statistics. Because we do go deeply into statistics, and that is because that's a very important part of being a data analyst. And so it's critical that you feel really comfortable with those concepts. That doesn't mean that you've had to do college level math or stats, but you need to feel comfortable with sort of the topics that are covered in a high school setting. But other than that, there's not other prereqs associated with the certificate program. That's not to say that, you know, it's not going to be a little bit more challenging if all of these concepts are new to you. And so we've prepared for that, and there's opportunities to slow down or speed up depending on your level of prior knowledge, but in no way is this built for people with more experience than that.
Okay. And the other thing is to keep in mind is starting with the business and data analytics microcred, which is the foundation and statistics 1, is that, you know, do you want to talk a little bit about the preferred order of the program of the microcreds? I mean, I know that's kind of, we have them listed in a certain order. Is that the order that we suggest they take them because it builds on each other, builds on the knowledge?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely thought a lot about the suggested order because, you know, we want you to come into this experience and get a broad look at how business and how data is used within a company, right? And what the data analysis process looks like. And so you're going to be using spreadsheets, you know, starting at a very basic understanding of what spreadsheets is, all the way up to using it to perform an analysis of data. And then after that, you're going a little bit deeper into some statistics concepts because those underlie all of what you're sort of learning in this field. And then you're moving off into SQL, Tableau, and then back to statistics. If you wanted to take Tableau before SQL, you know, that to me is your choice. But in general, you know, we've thought about the order of this, and it's really important that you kind of start with the foundational content, which has been laid out for you, and is sort of sequenced in that way.
Thank you. The other question is, excuse me a minute. Sorry about that. The other question is, and this one I can take, and you guys can jump in if you want as well, but what is the difference between a microcredit, the microcredits, and a certificate? So LSU Online and Continuing Education has been offering certificate programs for a long time, for quite a long time. Certificates programs are usually at least 5 courses or more, and they represent a larger number of hours. So just as an example, we have a business project management certificate program that's at least 54 hours. And so it is a certificate program. When we created microcreds, we wanted to create a smaller bundles that have a quicker, it's not success rate, you're successful in both programs, but you have a quicker endpoint to something, you have a credential faster. So when we looked at microcreds, we looked at less courses. It might be, as little as 2 courses, and it might be 3 courses in most of our microcreds. Each of those courses represent a different number of hours, the contact hours, or how much time you're going to spend in each individual course. But the microcreds are meant to be smaller, shorter, and micro, whereas the certificate takes on a slightly larger macro look to it. And then, of course, if you keep going up through in higher education, then you go up to a degree and a master's. I mean, those are much larger in the degree granting programs. So they do all kind of stack into each other as well. So I think it's important to know that we made microcreds so that they were smaller, easier. They're much quicker and portable, faster, I guess. But they can break, they do lead up to the certificate in this case. From the group, I don't have any more questions. I know we have a section, I think our next section talks a little bit about the other frequently asked questions or common questions.
Yeah. Do you want to walk through some of these FAQs, Lisa? I think they haven't come up yet, so it might be worth.
Yeah, I can do that. Another question came in too, and we can talk a little bit about that as well, is will the courses be able to count towards an MBA or MS in data analytics, data science and analytics at LSU? And for LSU online degree programs, yes, we are working this into what we call prior learning experience. So the prior learning experience is reviewed by the faculty of the specific college or the department in college, and then they are able to grant credit for the experience in this. So let's say you take this and you want to do the LSU online MBA program, or you want to do our online data science analytics, then that will go towards that. And each program is different about how much they'll accept. I know we worked with PassStream, they reviewed our programs as well. And so we can, I can work with our marketing group and work with our prior learning assessment team leads. We have 2 team leads on that, and let the group know what exactly that would stack into with our programs with LSU Online and Continuing Education. So I'll put that in as a to-do for myself. And then someone said, of course, what is the cost? And I'll go over that a little bit with you as well. And then someone also, I can go to these, there's another question popped up, Lauren and Angie. It says, would we be given every materials needed for the program, or do we need to get some sort of materials on our own in readiness for the different lectures or different programs?
No, everything that you need to complete this experience is going to be within the PassStream platform. So you don't need to buy any textbooks or seek any outside equipment or licenses.
Yes, and so everybody was interested. Of course, someone asked the cost, so I think others would too. So the way we work this out is we have individual costs for the courses, the individual courses. We do have a bundle for the microcreds if you're getting the 2 or 3 courses together, and that's with a 10% discount off the individual course price. And then the ultimate bundle is if you purchase or you sign up for the whole certificate at once, it represents 20% off of the different courses. So for instance, I'm I'm gonna go make sure that I get this exactly correct for you on this. So each of the courses are $775 for the individual courses. And then when you bundle those courses into the microcredit, you're gonna get 10% off of the cost of the bundle. And then when you put them into the overall certificate, you will get 20% off the cost as a larger bundle. So it just depends on the bite size that you need to take or that you're looking for on that. One of the things that we have on here is you can, like I said, pay by course, pay by microcredit, or pay by full certificate. A lot of companies will reimburse through employee training dollars. They have a training development budget line item within the company. Sometimes it will fall, depending if it's not a full degree program, it might fall in tuition reimbursement or remission that they're able to take certificate programs in lieu of another full degree. Let's say you already have an undergrad degree, or you may already even have a master's degree and you're not looking for another degree, then that tuition remission or tuition assistance might take place there. We do have with LSU Online and Continuing Education, we do have a career change scholarship, which represents 30% off of those individual course prices. And so that career change scholarships are people that find themselves due to COVID, the pandemic, economic hardship. It's a pretty easy form to fill out for that. And then we can apply the 30%. And at that point, you would take individual courses at 30% off. So then you would take them one at a time because you get 30% off the individual course price, because we don't stack the discounts. We don't have stacked discounts on that. And so the career change scholarship has helped some folks. And so there are, in our other programs, we've had quite a few folks take advantage of that scholarship and to provide some assistance for that. Like I think Lauren actually went over a little bit, the programs are designed for a full-time working adult. They have children, they have other commitments, parents, pets, whatever their commitments, other volunteer that they do outside of work. So then again, we go back to, we expect to spend like 10 to 15 hours a week throughout the certificate programs. And any other prerequisites, we covered this a little bit, but again, this goes over a little bit of, you should have a high school degree or equivalent. And although there are no prerequisites, we recommend that you're familiar, like you said, with high school level math, maybe a little bit of algebra and high school statistics. And I'm going to double check real quick. I have some other questions that came in. So I'm also the checker of questions here. It says the Tableau and Statistic Microcredits are offered, but since they both say coming soon, they're about to launch like within days. So we're probably by the end of the week, we'll have everything launched in the whole certificate. That's what I was talking to one of our other directors. Someone asked can we speak to the types of students that choose this program? Are most of them already in data industry? Are they able to track outcomes? Are we able to track outcomes? And what type of outcomes are you seeing? New jobs, salary increases, etc.
Yeah, that's a really good question. As I mentioned previously, we definitely see our students falling into 3 categories. The first is that they're trying to get sort of their first job in a data analytics space. And those, that's generally in need of a little bit more career support right after the certificate ends. And obviously some of this has been impacted by COVID, but we're generally seeing really good results from our data students that have graduated. And that one category is just one of 3. The other 2 categories of students that we see a lot of are full-time working professionals that are looking to bring this toolkit into their existing work and their existing position. They already have a job, maybe even intersecting with the data space, but they don't have the technical skills to be able to perform what's needed on the job. And so they're looking to upskill in that area. Another thing we're seeing is, somebody has a job, they really like their company, but they want to transition to a new department or a new team that is more involved with data. And so they're looking maybe for a lateral move or somewhat of a promotion to a different position, but they need to be able to show their manager that they have those skills needed for that position.
Excellent. Another question is, when will the career change scholarship for those changing careers affected by COVID, job loss, go live for the certificate program? Like I said, for the career change scholarship, they're going to apply at the individual course level. So as we launch each individual course, but by the end of the week is what, again, was the last I heard, that we'll have them out there, is that the career change scholarship 30% off will be applied at those individual course levels. So they're out there for ones that are live now, and for the microcreds that are coming online, then that will happen as well. So another question was, I mentioned, I know they said, I know you've mentioned this, but it'd be good to know if the certificate overlaps with other LSU programs. For instance, they're enrolling in the fall 2020 semester for the online masters in construction management from LSU. So we will definitely send out the PLA. We'll make sure that when we send you the recording, we'll send you what the PLA, what programs that goes into, and what programs have accepted it to this date. But we're willing to ask all programs. So if we hadn't talked to construction management about it yet, then we're willing to ask. The department chair is Dr. Berryman, and we're willing to ask him, and he's been very good to work with. So we will definitely check that out for you. Okay, I have a couple other questions. Let me catch up here. Are the video files closed captioned for deaf and hard of hearing? All of our programs for LSU Online and Continuing Education that are online are completely accessible. We meet all accessibility standards, and all programs have all of those caveats, whether it's the deaf, hard of hearing, or other elements of that need extra assistance. So we do have that. It says, when will the lectures begin? I think that was asked a couple different times. Will begin proper. So Lauren, I don't know if you want to take this a little bit too, just kind of about the asynchronous nature of it.
Yeah, so this is a little different than a traditional classroom and a traditional online classroom. You can navigate these courses at your own pace, you know, within certain timeframes, but there is no synchronous components that are required. So that means that, you know, you have an instructor there that is supporting you, that is grading your work, that is answering questions, that is that coach, but you do not have to log in at a certain time and get, you know, a PowerPoint. That is all, but like the course that I just showed you, it's meaty. There's a lot of content and a lot of information in there. And the instructor is more of your support and your coach and your feedback provider, and isn't, you know, creating a 1 hour block every week that you have to log in on. And we've done that because we really want this program to fit into your lives. And we want you to do the work when it's best for you and not have to move your schedule around for this upskilling or reskilling opportunity in your schedule. Oh, Lisa, you're muted.
Sorry. One of the individuals completed the data analytics certificate with LSU Online, and if they enrolled in the Tableau and data analytics certificate, would I be able to get some credit for what I completed? So how it works for our program is that we don't convert this certificate into credit that you carry elsewhere. It converts into credit, which is prior learning assessment that goes into our online continuing the online program. So any of our online certificate or degree programs. So if you're looking for if you complete this and you're looking for credit to be offered, that any individual university may review, similar to this, a prior learning assessment, review what you've completed and offer you credit or a waiver of credit to a program that you're enrolling at their program. So we do that with our online programs at LSU Online and Continuing Education through PLA. And that if there's something beyond what you finished, the data analytics certificate, if there's something beyond that, then we can talk to you one-on-one with that. So you can give us a call on that one. Wait, hold. Okay. So another question is if they were given the career change scholarship and must do courses individual, will that code expire? No, that code will not. If you indicate that you would like to go through each of the individual courses, each of the courses do have their own time frame. So like the whole program has up to 38 weeks. Each of the individual courses has a certain time frame in that asynchronous format that Lauren talked about, that you complete the course. So you might have a course that you sign up for and you have 4 weeks to complete it. You might finish it in 2 weeks, like she said. You might finish it sooner, but you have up to 4 weeks. And then as you sign up for the next course, then that scholarship we would, and again, just indicate to us, we put it in our record that you're tracking through to finish all courses, and we'll make sure to honor that scholarship through all the courses. We've had some great questions here. This is awesome that you guys have posed a lot of good questions. And we're actually very pleased to see some of our own alumni that you've completed some of our programs, or you're about to become an LSU Tiger by either joining this program or one of our online programs. I don't have any other, I think I covered all the questions. Sorry if we missed a question. I've been marking them that I've answered them live, and I've been looking in the chat because there's also, people have been asking questions through the chat and through the Q&A. So I've gone through both of those. You want me to take this one more? Or you want me to go ahead and?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it would be great if you can kind of wrap us up.
So let's say you're ready to enroll, or at least you're ready to, if you have more questions and you're ready to enroll, you can start the Business and Data Analytics Microcredit today, or you can start the courses within that. We have a link in this webinar for that. If you have questions and you want to contact one of our enrollment specialist team, then we do have at answers@outreach.lsu.edu. They immediately get in contact with you, either by your choice, by a phone call and or an email. And then we can talk through the program a little bit with you and kind of talk to you about what your goals are if you have any further questions. So the next step is either if you're ready to enroll because you've got what you needed, or if you have other questions, you certainly can contact us. We're here to help. I think that's all the questions. We've kind of,
Great.
I think we've covered everything if I'm not mistaken. So, but we really appreciate you spending time with us today. We enjoyed having you on with the webinar. We enjoyed the interaction and the questions you've had. You've had some great questions. If there's additional questions, like I said, you can send them back to us. If you want us to ask Lauren or Angie, if you're like, hey, Angie talked about this one thing, can I get more information on that? Or Lauren said something that, I'd like to get her viewpoint on something. If Lauren, Angie, you don't mind, we'll just communicate back and forth with you any additional questions afterwards. But we will send out the recording of this webinar afterwards, so you'll have that. So you'll have all the question and answers that we were able to cover today. But also we'll be able to send out some of the, like I said, my to-do items is send you information about the prior learning assessment and what programs beyond that once you complete the certificate they go towards on the credit side. And I will connect with construction management. That was one of them. And I think that's it. That's all I have for today.
Yep. Thank you so much. And we realize this is a big decision, so please let us know what questions you have, but thanks for joining today.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Go Tigers.